Rick Bleiweiss boasts an impressive and multifaceted career, seamlessly blending his talents in both the arts and business sectors. As the head of development at his esteemed workplace, Rick draws upon his rich educational background, which includes an accelerated executive education program at Harvard University and a master's degree in film and communication from New York University. His academic excellence is further highlighted by his membership in Phi Beta Kappa and his consistent presence on the Dean's List. Rick has made significant contributions to the music industry, earning a Grammy nomination as a record producer, with his record One Night Man by Captain Rick's retro rocket reaching number 4 on the worldwide indie music chart. In the literary world, he is celebrated as the award-winning author of the Pinion Scorpion Mystery Series, with 2 books published in 2022. His illustrious career has been adorned with numerous accolades, and he continues to engage with notable figures through interviews, including recent guests like kennyg and upcoming conversations with influential personalities such as Clive Davis.
Hello.
Hello, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. You know what? I'm excited. Been waiting for this all day.
Okay. Well, I'm happy about it too.
Right. Thank you so much for actually joining me. So I am actually going to formally introduce you in. I have a little bio for you, and then I'm going to let you do the rest. So I'm already recording. So with
Okay.
that further ado being said, I would love to welcome a special guest of mine because he's very special to me. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Bleiweiss.
Bleiweiss. Can I call you
Bleiweiss.
Rick?
You can call me Rick. You should
Okay.
call me Rick.
Okay, I will call you Rick. All right, so here we go. All right, audience, welcome to Level Up with Katina, and I have a special guest with me. I was excited that he agreed to come on my show, and this is like special, very, very special for me. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Rick, and he can go over his background and things here shortly, but he is a Grammy nominated record producer, award-winning author of the Pinion Scorpion Mystery Series,
Yeah.
and 2 books pubbing in 2022. Rick's record One Night Man by Captain Rick's Retro Rocket was number 6 on the World Indies Music Chart. Very impressive. Number four on the Indies chart. Rick's impressive background has earned him the most decorative awards in his career, as he has interviewed special guest celebrities, of course, such as Kenny, and he also has featured interviews with public figures like Clive Davis and more. Welcome to Level Up with Katina. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks. And by the way, for your viewers, my last name is Bleiweiss, but it's not easy to pronounce.
Yes.
And when I was in grade school, I had a phys ed teacher who kept calling me Blue Eyes because he couldn't pronounce Bleiweiss. And everybody walk up to me and go, "You don't have blue eyes," but that's because he couldn't pronounce it.
I was going to ask, do you have blue eyes? That's
I
awesome.
go,
That is awesome. And that's why I'm calling you Mr. Rick, because I do not want to, chop that up while we're on here live. And
"That's
so tell
okay."
us a little bit about, first of all, you are one predominant author. How did you get started in that business?
Well, I've been kind of writing my whole life in a way. I wrote and published a sports newspaper when I was 12 years old, and I made like 4 carbon copies and sold them to 4 of our neighbors. I started there, and then, of course, I was a musician and a songwriter, so I was writing songs. Then I started writing magazine and newspaper columns and articles. And then in the early 2000s, I had moved to Ashland, Oregon from New York City, and I joined a writers group. My next door neighbor was a published poet, and she said, "Come on, join the group." So I joined the group, and I started writing short stories. And some of them, the rest of the people in the group really loved, and one of them became the beginnings of the first Pinion Scorpion novel. And I was when it and ended up publishing, I was 77 years old, which was very
Yeah.
cool at that point.
Oh, wow. So these are like series, correct?
Well, I have 2 books in the series. I've just
Okay.
my publisher is reading the 3rd book right now. which I hope will come out in a year or two. And I've also got a science fiction book that my agent is starting to shop, and I'm working on my memoir. And I've got two
Wow.
other projects that are out to Hollywood, and they may or may not ever become films or TV shows. But I always said that the chase to find the pot of gold at the end of the
That's
rainbow is
right.
even more exciting than whether you find the pot of gold or not.
So you find that pot of gold like right in front of you. It's like, oh, that's exciting, but to chase it and just see it evolve is beautiful. And I was
Oh,
like
yeah.
looking at some of your other past things that you've done in the past. I was doing my homework on you, of course, and I was looking at like your university and like your education and like where you started from, and then you're like evolving and you're still going. You're still just, hungry for more. Tell us about so when you're writing your books or your novels or your memoirs or how do you so how do you contemplate those? Do you go back for things like in your history of what you've done, or is it something like that comes to you like are you artistic in that way where it just kind of hits you in a nonfiction kind of manner?
All right. Well, I've got to separate my memoir from any of the others because my
Okay.
memoir, it's really, I mean, it's my life. So I know
Right.
what my life
Yes.
was. But in terms of any of the fiction or the novels, um, I literally see them play out in my head. And my job
Wow.
is to sit at a computer and capture what I'm seeing as playing almost like a movie in my head. So, and then of course I go back and I
Yeah.
edit them and I add stuff. But no, I don't. I'm what There's two kinds of writers, and I'm a pantser. I fly by the seat of my pants. The others are plotters, where they plot
They're
everything in
plotted out.
advance. I'm not a plotter. I'm a pantser. I see it and I write it.
Wow. So did you have that creative edge like growing up? Like let's leave like the writing out of it, the novel work. Like as a kid, like were you just artistic? Like you could like vision things and like, oh, this is gonna come to fruition. I like doing this, and then it just comes to light.
Yeah, but it was more in music than it was in
Yeah.
books. I mean, earlier in my life, my focus was on playing music, writing music, and
Yeah.
all my songs came to me the same way the books do. I just heard them in my, there was a TV special with Carole King and James Taylor, and in that special, one of the things Carole King said, and I think it was about the song "Will You Love Me Tomorrow," which is a big
Yeah.
hit that she wrote. And she said, I just sat at the piano and it was like it got channeled through me. And, it was just there. And that's kind of the
Wow.
process I lived through.
Wow. And so you've done that all your life. Like you said, you're a pantser. I'm a plotter. I have to like plot things out, but then it takes a little bit longer to do that. So I totally get what you're saying. But do you play it like in your life history? Like even though you're a plotter, does some of that of your life still kind of fizzle into that pantsing?
Um, I'm kind of both.
Yeah.
I'm kind of lucky that and my parents were like this, so I inherited it. I'm right brain, left brain equal. I'm good with mathematics. I'm good
Yeah.
with structure, and I'm really good with just creating too.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate
Wow.
in that I'm not one or the other. So I'm comfortable in all of those environments.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit about your background and your education. Impressive.
Well, I started off college at the University of Miami in Florida,
Okay.
and I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And the very first course I had to take in pre-med was
Yeah.
zoology. And I walked into the first class, and there were some dead frogs on the table and the innards of the frogs on the blackboard. And I looked at it and I said, I think I'm supposed to cut them open. No way. And I walked out of the class and uh, and I immediately transferred quite a stretch from pre-med. I transferred to radio, TV, film, and decided I liked film the best. So I
Yeah.
transferred to NYU and I got I got my bachelor's in filmmaking. I got my master's in communication. And I was writing scripts. In fact, when I was in my bachelor's filmmaking, Martin Scorsese was one of my classmates, and a guy named Bob Balaban, who's
Yeah.
a well-known Hollywood actor and director, also was one of my classmates and a friend. And I knew I'd never be as good as Marty at kind of like
Um,
whatever. But
mhm.
and then later in life, I was enrolled in an accelerated program for senior executives at Harvard, and I
Yeah.
went through that program. And I was a terrible high school student. I didn't care about school. I was playing in bands. I only cared about rock and roll. And I was kind of a C student, and then my nickname was they called me a late bloomer. I thought that was a middle name. So anyway, but I
Wow.
it all clicked in college, and yeah, I
Yeah.
made dean's list and honor society, and I don't know, I just clicked in college, but I was still playing in bands and everything.
Really? What? So tell us a little bit about your band style. Like, what specific genre do you associate with, and like, where do you play at?
Well, I don't play live anymore. The thing I did
Yeah.
with the Captain Rick's Retro Rocket was just something I recorded in my house with me playing all the instruments and
Yeah.
everything. But I started playing in bands when I was about 12, and I was playing rock and roll. I started
Yeah.
as a rock guitarist, and then when a group called The Ventures came out with a record called Walk Don't Run, which popularized the electric bass
Yeah.
guitar, I rushed out and I bought an electric bass and guitar, and I became a guitarist and bassist for the rest of my life. And I was on the road probably for about 15 years or so,
Oh,
opened for Three
wow.
Dog Night, Ruby and the Romantics, the Rascals, a number
Hmm.
of different West and Mountain, a number of different acts, and had a ton of fun. I co-wrote a science fiction rock opera that Leonard Bernstein's producer produced
Really?
some demos, and the man who brought the Beatles to the US, Sid Bernstein, was my manager, and we got this close to having it be mounted as a Broadway show. And the
Oh,
guy who was funding it died, and his new
oh.
wife said, "I'm not spending my money on that project." That ended that. But
Cut.
it is what it is.
Wow. And 15 years you were on the road.
Yeah,
15?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, better part of 15 years, mostly in the Northeast, but we played a lot of concerts, and it was funny. We were opening for Three Dog Night the day the men first landed on the moon,
Yeah.
and we were playing in this enormous club. I think it was a converted airplane hangar or something like that in Buffalo, New York, and they were really ahead of their time because this was in
Yeah.
'69. And they had video monitors hanging from the ceiling. This is well before MTV or VH1. And the club owner, when we finished our set, because we were the opening act, he came up on the stage and said, "Okay, we're all going to watch the moon landing, and then Three Dog Night will perform." And the crowd started booing him, and they
Oh.
started chanting, "We want to dance." They didn't care about watching the moon landing. So the Three Dog Night guys said there's no way they were going on. They wanted to watch the moon landing. So we ended up
Wow.
playing a second set with
Yeah.
our backs to the audience, watching a monitor backstage.
Oh,
And
wow.
uh, and then after that, Three Dog Night went on, and it
Oh,
was kind of
wow.
funny. They were really great guys, and the band I was in was a lot of what we did was what called a cover band, where we
Mhm.
would cover the hits of the day, and we covered a lot of Three Dog Night records. And one of the most popular ones that we played was a record they did called Celebrate. Um, and it had not come out as a single. And when we were backstage with them, we told them that like of everything that we played of theirs in clubs, that got the greatest response. And they should really go to their record company and think of releasing it as a single. And about 2 months later, a they went into the studio, re-recorded it, because the album version is different than their single version that came
Yeah.
out, and that became their next single. It became one of the biggest singles they ever had. but you never know where inspiration for your next single is going to come from.
You don't. And a lot of times, and I talked to several artists also, and they're like, when I really thought this one was great, and it was like one of the worst ones, but then the one I thought was like not noteworthy, it hit number one, so you never know. You're right. It just depends on the listeners, their ears, and what they like about it. And the part,
A lot depends on how it gets marketed,
that too,
especially
absolutely.
today with social media.
Oh, wow. It's so much out there more today that you can put things out everywhere. I mean, you have the Spotify, the SoundClouds, the film things.
Yeah.
It's amazing out there.
So
What's one of your biggest moments that you've had that you're really proud of?
in music,
Anything.
well, I'll stick with music for a minute because
Okay.
after I stopped performing, I started producing records. And in fact, a lot of what I produced was in the disco era and R&B mostly.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and one of the proudest things that I've done is I co-produced. I had a production partner, and we worked together. And one of the albums that I produced got a Grammy nomination. It was a spoken word album with a man named Steve Allen, and I got beaten out by Shari Lewis and her hand puppet Lamb Chop. But such is life. Uh, and I produced this act called the Gary Tom's Empire, and
Uh-huh.
we had 9 consecutive chart records. The first one was the biggest. It was called 7654321 Blow Your Whistle. And it actually was the record that popularized whistles in discotheques. Um, and we another track I did with Gary ended up being a Coca-Cola commercial for 5 years. And I think one of the two proudest moments I had, because I just really loved Gary and the guys in the
Yeah.
group. They played the Apollo Theater in Harlem, and I went to that. And they played Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and I went to that too. And I
Yeah.
think those are two of my proudest moments of just seeing this a group of great guys and ladies who
Yeah.
I helped get some fame and success have that exposure. And it was just thrilling.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. So what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated?
Life.
Yeah.
I, I get bored really easily. I mean, I tried retiring when I left the music industry in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. I tried retiring and I just got bored out of my mind. And so, what keeps me going is new adventures, new
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
just doing things.
Wow. Wow. Do you travel a lot or?
I used to. I don't very much anymore. My wife has some infirmaries, and it makes it harder for us to
Yeah.
travel. But that's okay. We did a ton of traveling,
Yeah.
uh, and so I'm very happy about that. And I love traveling, but I'm content
Yeah.
here. I'm living in Washington State. I love the area. We live in a town that's on a bay with a harbor, and it's
Oh,
very cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you surrounded by a lot of water or is it?
Yes, we are. I mean, we're not on the water. We're maybe about a 2-minute drive from the
Yeah.
water, but every time we leave to go anyplace, we're driving past the bay and the
Oh, it's
inlet.
beautiful.
So yeah, it is. It's really nice. I'm not a boater or anything like that, so I mean, it's kind of wasted on me, but I like the view.
The view is always beautiful. Hey, you can't go wrong with that. So what
Yeah.
got you into like interviewing like so major artists like Kenny and all those other public figures? What drove you into like doing those type of interviews?
Um, there really was no one specific thing.
Yeah.
I one day I woke up and I turned to my wife and I said, you know, there's some interesting people out there that I think I could interview, and I think I could do a pretty good job at interviewing them.
Yeah.
And she said, well, go for it. You go for everything, that makes
You
sense
might
to
as
you.
well.
Might as well. So I did, and that's how it started.
Wow. So how long have you been doing that?
I would say, I'm going to guess now, I would say probably 3 years, 4 years, or something like that.
Wow.
Although I didn't really apply myself to it a lot. I just did the interviews
Yeah.
and I kind of let them sit there on YouTube on my, it's called Chapter and Verse is
Yeah.
these little series. Um, and then recently, I've hired an SEO specialist and I hired a marketing company. And now, I mean, whereas I was getting 60 views, now the videos are getting over 1,000 views. So
Right.
it's starting to build. And, maybe I'll even convert them into a podcast because all the audio tracks could be, just audio without even the video. But for the moment, I'm enjoying doing these. And it gives me a chance, really
Yeah.
for me, let alone for anybody else, to really find out what makes people tick. I've interviewed authors, actors, musicians,
Yeah.
literary agents, film and TV people, and it's interesting to hear what how they got to where they are, what makes them tick, and what advice they have for people.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing because, number one, it's hard work. What we do is hard work because the edits and things like that. But when you look
Yeah.
at like interviewing, not just celebrities, anybody, it's all about like when I interview like you and other artists and authors, it's more like, wow, that person is fascinating. It's like I can learn from them. And hopefully they can learn from me. I don't know. But like you said, it's just like getting into who that person is as a person, not for the click, not for the views. It's more of like when I interview somebody, I want to learn that person because not that, I'm going to be a lifelong buddy or best friend, we're all, we have associate levels, but it's about the history behind it. I love meeting people and, carrying that on. One day I can call up and say, "Hey, Rick, did you see that show that I did?" That was garbage, girl. Things like that. You want to have people that you can connect with. You have a prestigious background. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I want to be like him one day. And you're inspiring. So you never know like what content is out there, who you're going to see and who you're going to come across. It's amazing. I love it. I'm a people's person. I love diversity. I love traveling. I don't like sitting still. I'm like you. I do not like sitting still. I'm on the move. I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm with you on diversity, that's for sure. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I, to me, diversity is what makes the world interesting.
It really does. And you learn that and it's kind of like you adapt and you cultivate around it, having that if you're like in a box, it's kind of like, and you don't get to learn different people and how they tick and all those things. But it's prestigious what you're doing though. I mean, I'm like floored. I was like, wow, like simply
Oh,
amazing. So I have
you're,
a
you're
so I
doing
have
great too.
thank you. I published a book, Divine Strength, and it's on Amazon and Book Goodreads and all those things. And one of the things that I took away from it when I was writing, like I said, I'm not a you. I have to, plot my things in place, but it kind of takes me back to like your philosophy of your journey. It's kind of like it's nothing specific to it. It's nonfiction, but it's like you never know where it's going to go. And I have a second one coming out. You never know where it's going to go,
That's
and
right.
people like you, meeting great people like you along the way. It's like, well, you know what? He's been there, done that, award winning. He'll tell you. But it's amazing. I just want to thank you. I'm honored actually to have you on the show. I've seen you
Well,
on, interviewing Kenny. I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to. This is just a special day for me. And how did you go
well,
about interviewing Kenny? Did you just call him up and say, "Hey"?
I'll give you a two-part answer to that. First of all, back when I was head of sales at Arista Records, and then
Oh,
after that,
wow.
I was head of marketing for their distribution company, and the
Yeah.
company ended up owning them. And so I worked Kenny's records
Oh,
for about 12 years, and I got to meet him a couple of
yeah.
times. But then what happened was Kenny wrote his memoir,
Yes.
and someone else in my company acquired it, although I was involved and
Yeah.
talked to him, when we were doing the acquisition. And so I just got a hold of him and said, Kenny, We worked together at Arista. We published your memoir. Shall we do an interview? And he, as being the great guy he
He
is, he said,
is.
absolutely. And we did it.
Oh wow, it was fascinating. And what a lot of people, and I like how he said that he does his saxophone, so he barely talks. But at the same time, he's like one of the most genuine, humble people you want to see. It's
Yeah,
more like he he states it the best. I just let my music do the talking and everything else kind of comes in place. And he's just a very gentle soul. I mean, wow, the interview was amazing. People, like fans that connect and want to at least hear a little bit, not everything, privacy, but
right.
want to hear, about an artist's journey or someone's journey. Like you said, it's fascinating to get some things out of a person where they can connect to. And I thought it was
Yeah.
fabulous. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
Well, I did another interview about a week or two before with a man named Steve Katz, who was the founder, one of the founders and guitarists of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, um,
Really?
and a group called the Blues Project before that, which was a pretty
Yeah.
well-known blues act. And Steve was a fabulous, I mean,
Wow.
one of the things I found, because I've interviewed Al Roker, Russ Tamblyn,
Yeah.
Andrew Child, who writes Jack Reacher books. I mean, I've interviewed some pretty successful people. And the one thing I found, and this is true of Kenny, but all of them, is they are just sincerely nice human beings. It's like I'm sure there are some, excuse me,
Amazing.
assholes out there. I haven't run into them in my
I try not to
years.
run into them. Trust me. I'm like, pew, and I go the other way. I don't have time for it. But then he said, there's some assholes. No, literally, when so like if you go to a show and you got a celebrity, I can't call names or whatever, and it's more like they're into themselves than just not that they're supposed to be all about the fans. Don't get me wrong, because I consider it work. They have a job to do, and you
Right.
respect that, one way or the other. But when you have certain ones that are just there's is there a way or no way, and this is how it goes. Don't talk to me, don't look at me. I'm gonna do my show, and I'm pure, have no personality, or even don't even
Yeah.
connect with the fans. That's not the type of things I think I want to invest in or, put my money on. I really don't. I
Agree.
mean, I get
I,
it,
I totally, yeah,
I
I
don't
totally
know.
agree with you. And I've worked with some divas, male and female, in my life, in my career, and they're not as much fun to work with. They make life
Divas.
for everybody, including themselves.
Yeah. And you make it that much harder for people, like you say, if you wanted to do an interview with them and then they make it 10 times harder, that's just not good. You don't want to be in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah,
You really don't.
I had back in the 90s, I co-produced a concert at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. for the music industry.
What?
And we had a number of acts, the
Yeah.
Temptations, the Four Tops,
Yeah.
Trisha Yearwood, others. And one of the acts, who will be nameless, uh, showed up, had the
Yeah.
largest dressing room, and said it wasn't big enough and refused to go on. And this is with senators and vice president in the audience
Oh,
and an
wow.
industry celebration. And it took Dick Clark, who had hired to
Yeah.
MC, to
Yeah.
go and talk to her and get her to perform, or she would have not gone on. And she was one of the biggest names. But it's self-defeating to be like that, I think.
It really is. Although you barely made it to psychology, but you were almost there, so you still you get it, you understand. And it's not about having the degree, it's about the people you meet and the diversity behind it. You learn a
Yep.
person the first time you meet them. And that, and I tell people, when I do speeches and things, when a person sees you, how you carry yourself and who you are, say you're award-winning author, you've been on the indie charts. And if you carry yourself and you're going out in the public, and for the first time I see Rick and I go, oh, I don't think, forget that interview. So it makes a difference. And so when you look at people like you and Kenny that are approachable and, for the ones he wants to do the interviews with and just as humble, there's no expectation out of it. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
So I'll tell you a couple other things in my career I was proud of. Obviously, I'm very proud of my sons, and my family, because
Yeah.
that goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. But in terms of career achievements, I was very instrumental in helping break Melissa Etheridge and the Backstreet Boys, and I'm very proud of being able to have helped performers of that
Yeah.
quality kick off their careers. I mean,
Oh,
I've
wow.
helped other artists, but those were two that I had especially, I guess, more significant
Oh,
impact in
wow.
breaking. Um, and then I'm also very proud of having found authors, young
Yeah.
authors who are having success now that I'm doing, working for a publisher. And I'm proud of the fact that I've uh, gotten a number of best-selling authors and books on the New York Times bestseller
Wow.
list, but it's more the younger authors
Yeah.
where I was able to sign them and help kick their careers off. And I think, I'm very proud over the course of my whole career of being able to mentor people. I don't think there's enough mentoring going on in corporate America.
It's not.
Um, Not that there isn't any, but there's not enough. And that was always one of my goals as an executive was to mentor people
Yeah.
and have them try to achieve the greatest success they can. A lot of executives are worried that the people under them are going to stab them in
Yeah.
the back and do
Right.
another class.
Yes.
I looked
Yes.
at it differently. I looked
Yes.
at it, if you surround yourself with the best people you can, you will look better, they will look better, everybody will be happier,
That's
and you'll
right.
achieve more. And that was always my philosophy.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, it's like you're reading like my mind in interviews that I just did with other people. And we talked about number one, that artist development, that personal development. We talked about a lot of that. And one of the things, I've been in the healthcare for over 30 something years. And one of the things that I have learned, I'll just take it to my nursing background. Me, as a younger, not now, but me when I was a younger nurse, when we had the veteran nurses and we're working and, we're coming in, I'm a nurse, and we're doing 130% to their 80 and they get intimidated by that. It's like, she's doing a lot, what is this? She's making me look bad, but they don't understand that, when we get fresh out of school, we have the training, we have the new season tools, the new, innovations or whatever. It's more exciting when you put it out there, but for people's mindset to go this way and think, oh, they're going to be better than me, or I don't want them to know what I know, or, but I
Yeah.
look at good intentions in anything that anybody does. If you don't have the right intentions, no matter what mentorship you want to be or try to, drive your career, people see that. People see who you are. It's not rocket scientist. They can look on your thing and go, yeah, you may say you want to be a mentor, but ooh, the way you act doesn't, superb who you are. So I like how you said that. I want to be with a circle that is doing way better than me. That's how we learn. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
I don't want anything from it. I don't expect anything from it. I just want to be better and better than the next and the next and the next. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Even when I was playing in bands, I was a very competent musician.
Yeah.
Am I Jeff Beck or Jimi Hendrix on guitar? No, but I'm pretty damn good. But I always surrounded myself with musicians who were better than me
Yes.
because I knew it would make for the best combo, if you will, the best bands. And so,
Wow.
I've never been scared of being around people who are better. In fact, I've embraced it and enjoyed it.
It makes it more fun because you're here, but you have so much more to work on, and that just makes it more interesting, right? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
wow, just like with you, I'm like, Rick's a award-winning author. Oh my God. And I have this divine strength out on Amazon sitting there, and I'm like, wow, I want to be just like him. So it's like you said, it's inspiring. I'm like, I want to be award-winning someday. And meeting you and talking with you and knowing that, you're there to mentor the next is amazing. That's all that people look for. They're looking for, better ways of doing things and not getting cut down at the end, are afraid that, what you put out there, somebody may tell you, oh yeah, you're going to do the greatest thing. But at the end, they don't support, what they're saying. There's a difference. It's a difference in it.
You're absolutely right. And even though my books have won awards, probably the award that I'm most proud of is I was awarded last year what was called a Career Changers Award, and it
Oh,
was an organization that gave out awards to people in different fields. I
yeah.
I was named it in the field for an author, um, to people who changed careers late in life, and as they put it,
Hmm.
contributed to society. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
not just the changing careers later in life, but what pleased me about that award is that they viewed what I'm doing
Hmm.
as being inspirational to other
Oh,
seniors and,
wow.
and helping keep people who are older motivated and
Yeah.
interested in life. And that
Yeah.
was very pleasing to me.
Wow. And so what organization was this through? What organization?
It was called Career
Career
Changers.
Changers. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now that's amazing. Now, how did they
Yeah.
pick? Go ahead, sorry.
Don't know. I got an email from them one day saying, you've been nominated in this category. We'll let you know if you won. And I won.
Oh, wow. And you never know who's watching.
No, you don't.
You never know
No,
who's
and right now
watching.
there's an organization called the International Impact Awards,
Yeah.
and um, I am up for Author of the Year in their historical fiction category. So that
Oh,
ceremony's in Los Angeles in October, and I'm hoping I win. But
oh, oh,
again, you never know. And if I don't, just being nominated is an honor.
that's right. Oh, wow. And so this is in October. October?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And like I said, you just never know who's watching or who's, the what you put out there inspires a lot of people. It really does. I mean, your series. Tell us a little bit about like how they can find you or what I know that you're on the Instagram and things like that, but tell the audience like where can they find you in your most recent works and past work, latest, greatest.
Okay, well, you can go to my website, Rick Bleiweiss, BLEIWEISS.com. And there's a lot of information and links there. The YouTube, it's a Rick Bleiweiss channel, Rick Bleiweiss's chapter and verse. And like you said, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, X.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, mainly though, I focus on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as my three
Yeah.
main things. Um, and certainly, if you search for Pignon Scorbion or Rick Bleiweiss on uh, basically any at Amazon or Barnes and Noble or any independent bookstores or anything, the books, libraries, the books should be there. And then as far as the music I'm doing now, if you go
Amazing.
to Retro Rocket, and it's Rockit, Retro Rocket music, you can hear
Yeah.
my music.
Wow, that is amazing. And so you said you're doing more music now, correct?
Well, I've got other songs recorded, but some of
Okay.
which I sing, some of which other people sing, and I'm debating which is going to be the next single I put out. And actually, I think it's going to be a country single called "You're the One I've Been Looking For."
Oh, wow. Oh, now do you have snippets anywhere that we can hear? Or do you not
Um,
want to put it out there like as a teaser for
no,
people?
actually, if you go to the Retro Rocket
Yeah.
Music website, the entire songs are there.
So that
You
one's
can
on
just
there.
listen. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And what inspired you with that one? That's a unique title.
Um, Again, it just came to me and it was there, and I sat with my guitar and my keyboard, and I came up with the music and the
Oh
lyrics, and
my, wow.
there it was. And then I
That's a,
recorded, and then I hired a country singer to sing it,
yeah.
and got a record.
That is amazing. Wow. I want to hear that one. That's a good one. I like that one. And what else? So what do you like to do on your time when you're not busy?
I like playing video games, uh, but not shoot 'em up games. I like
No,
word games,
yeah, yeah.
number games. mind games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I read. I am addicted to some mystery series on television. I love mysteries. So I watch, my wife and I watch a lot of mystery
Yeah.
shows and series on TV and like movies. And I have a 15-year-old Havanese dog. And so I spend
Oh,
a lot of time walking her and having fun with her.
oh, that is amazing. I have two girl German Shepherds.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
well,
four. Yeah.
yours are big and
Yeah.
mine's 15.
Oh, mine's they're running 65 and 70 somewhere in there. They're like 3 months apart. They're from a different litter, but they are very smart. They're very smart, very smart. Like when you read, you know how when you read things, you're an author, of course. Like when you read things and it's kind of like, yeah, is that really true? Like of German Shepherds? And absolutely, they are very smart. And that's why I chose them because they're smart.
And I also, 2 years ago, my wife and I moved from Oregon to Washington, and we moved into a, planned community here.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I've done is I've gotten involved with the community here. I'm on a number of committees, and I've done
Really?
presentations. Yeah, I do in fact, I did a presentation recently at the local library. I'm doing another one for one of the local colleges, mostly on book publishing. But I love living in this community and
Yeah.
meeting new people and socializing. And I'm a people person, so that's very pleasant to me.
Me as well. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have a social kind of background." You learn that over time, but I think the nursing helped me, way back when to do that, to be social and personal. I've always been that way, but I just love it. I love talking to people. I want to learn, learn about them as much as they want to tell me about them, and things like it's just fun. I like, moving in life is always a roller coaster, but it's moving in a roller coaster kind of way with people you enjoy, and that's what I love about it. If you got that positive vibe, I'm there. I love it. You like having fun in a respectful manner, I'm there. But that's just how I've always been. I just like having fun. If you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're gonna have a deck party," I'm like, "Huh, I'm in." As long as it's responsible. It's just about having fun and enjoying life. I call it life is too short, and you
Right.
spend the times with the people you care about, your friends. The handfuls that I want to keep. At my surface level, and just live life and do the things that you enjoy, and that's what I love
Yeah, I
about it.
agree. The one thing I will tell you that was, though, is, growing up in the music industry, and I really did. I mean, I
Yeah.
started playing in the music industry when I was 12, and I didn't leave until I was in my 60s. So, it was
Oh,
50 years I was in it. I came across a lot of people that did a lot of drugs
oh,
and they were
wow.
having fun with the drugs until they weren't. And that's one of the things that I always studiously avoided in my life
Yes.
because I was concerned I would get hooked and I saw what it was doing to other people.
Yeah.
And that to me wasn't
Yeah.
my idea of fun.
Yeah, that's
It,
not, I don't, yeah. And I'm not the drug. I never will and never have. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that. Drink, it's occasional. I'm still not, you give me a couple sips, I'm done. So I'm just saying, don't give me a drink because I don't know.
I,
I'm just
I will
not.
tell you though, one time one of my bands was playing in
Uh-huh.
Massachusetts and we uh, we were we smoked a little pot, nothing harmful. But what we didn't know is this guy gave us some joints to smoke after the gig, and we didn't know that they were laced with LSD.
Oh,
And
yikes.
yeah, well, now one of our guys in the band had a bad trip. I was lying in bed and I was looking up at the ceiling and I saw Porky Pig and Petunia Pig and Pepe Le Pew in real life in full 3D talking to me. And, and I'm glad I only did that once in my life.
Here's the question of the day. Did you talk to them back. That's all I want to know.
Oh, of course. I was having a conversation with them. They were answering me. It was a special evening that I never wanted to repeat, but it was an interesting experience.
How many? So when you woke up off of that trip,
I was fully
after
awake.
you came,
This was not a dream. I was fully awake. I was just looking up, and there they were.
oh wow. Yeah. How long did that? How long did you get out of that trip?
It probably took about 2 hours.
Oh, so did you go back to sleep after that, or what?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, I did. There was
no.
this rave party going
Oh
on
my.
around me, and I didn't care.
Oh my.
But that was really
This
the
is fun
only.
for the audience. I love it. I love it. But no, I don't. And I'm not saying, people have their styles and their drinks and their things, and I don't judge people off of that. I do counseling and that kind of stuff. So I get it, and sometimes it's hard to come off that stuff. But at the same time, being responsible about it, and just being responsible. I'm just going to put it that way. Just being responsible if you can. But I just like having fun. That's just
Yeah,
how
I
I
agree.
am. That's funny.
No,
Oh wow, that's funny. Yeah, and you also do have to watch, no telling what they're going to lace that stuff with. It's out there, it's everywhere. So
I know that's why I never done very much of anything.
yeah, I don't. No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I don't. And still, if I have some drinks, I like having fun and let my hair down some, but not to the extent to where it's um overkill, overkill. I don't do any of that. But that's funny. Now that this one right here for the audience is going to be a classic. I love it. So you're having full conversations. Oh my gosh. And visuals, right? You say you just literally saw them.
Totally, they're there. They were there in full 3D.
Oh,
It's like they
you
were
are
hanging
from,
from the ceiling.
oh my God, you heard. Was anybody there with you? Like, did they witness you like talking to your like ceiling up there or
Unfortunately, no, because I was the bass player in the band, and the guitarist had locked himself into the bathroom and was screaming that his guitar was going to kill him. So our drummer had to talk him down. So they were busy doing that while I was watching the cartoon characters.
so you both were tripping, right?
I know
Oh,
it
wow.
was my one and only trip ever, and I didn't even know I was doing it.
Now, do you guys, when you get together or whatever, do you still laugh about that?
Well, we would, but the only one that I've been able to find was
Yeah.
our lead singer.
Oh,
And he and I communicate by social
yeah,
media. And
yeah.
yes, we do laugh about it. But one of our guitar player, unfortunately, is deceased. And
Oh, sorry to hear
I
that.
don't know what happened to our organist and drummer. I've been unable to find them
Yeah.
through any kind of a people search or online. So I have no idea. I
Oh,
mean, the last time I saw them was 69 to 72. So it was 40, 50 years ago.
oh, wow. And
I'm an
no,
old codger.
like you can't find them on Facebook or any name
No,
search.
not at
Oh,
all. Just the lead singer. He's the only one I've been able to find.
oh. Well, hopefully he surfaces one day, or hopefully, he's not deceased or anything. But yeah, those are the fun times. Those are the memories that you gotta, laugh at and have fun with, and then keep carrying the good ones, on moving forward. But this is a great journey that you have. If someone, so this is one of the questions, if someone wanted to, so like if they had a published like book, or if they wanted to get some ideas where to go, like, are you open now that they're going to see your interview? Are you open? Like if they inbox you and say, hey, Rick, I don't know where to start, how do you do that? Because I know you don't want to get overwhelmed with people getting free service. Not a lot of things are for free, but what do you like? What happens if they want to contact you or any of that?
Well, for certainly, I would, for almost anybody, I would
Yeah.
offer advice on, what they should do in terms of literary agents and things like that. Um, it's harder when they have a manuscript and want you to read it
Ooh, yeah.
because, as you said, the question is how many people? I mean, I've gone to a few literary conferences in the
Yeah.
past where, I, as the publisher, would meet with authors. And at one of them, I remember walking away with 45 manuscripts. Well,
Oh,
that's that's overwhelming. I mean,
that's a
and I will tell you,
lot.
44 of them were not good. So it's really a fine line. I always offer advice. The tricky part comes when people want a manuscript read and they're not represented by an agent, and they
Yeah.
just sort of, here, I've got a manuscript, read it.
Right here.
Because and the other issue right now is that in the reality of today's publishing world, book publishing, an author's involvement in social media is very important. I mean, even though when you're published by a traditional publisher, the onus is on the publisher to market and promote the
Right.
book. Still, in today's world, if the author does not have a robust social media following,
Yeah.
it really makes it way harder for a publisher to break a book. That's how what the power of social media is in book
Wow.
publishing today. And a lot of starting out authors don't have, they've paid attention to their book, but nothing else. And they don't
That's
have
right.
strong social media. And then you go, okay, so how many followers do you have? Well, I've got about four. That's not going to
Ah,
cut it. Not when some other author is
has
giving
a
you a manuscript and
familiar.
they've got 2,000 followers or
Right.
10,000
Right.
followers. So it's really interesting. Between that and artificial intelligence, the whole publishing industry is undergoing a tremendous change.
How do you feel? I'm glad you brought the AI up here. How do you feel about, I mean, because someone can, and not that I'm trying this, I don't want any AIs on any of my books, but how do you feel about when someone's sitting there and knowing that AI can literally write you pretty much a book? How do you feel? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, is that, I mean, if they have their own ideas and they have their own manuscript and things of that nature, like, is that
Well,
acceptable?
I have mixed feelings because on one hand, I like human creativity,
Yes.
but at the same time, it's like putting your finger in the dike. You can't stop
Yeah.
the flow of water
Yeah.
because AI is the future. And to me, if AI writes a book and when somebody reads the book, they go, this is an incredible book. Does that make it any less real than if a human had sat down and written it? I don't think so. But
Mm.
we haven't yet, I think, as a society, gotten to the point where that is universally accepted. But I don't see how in the future it can be anything but universally accepted because this is what the future is going to be about in medicine and literature and art,
Film.
film and music. I mean, you can't stop progress.
You can't.
Progress is always good, but you can't stop it.
That absolutely. And so with that being said, so when you're looking at human creativity of it, and then you're looking at the AI aspect, like you said, how much is it? So, you put your blood, sweat, and tears in writing a book for, 6 months, and then you get AI, you push a button and there did a book in 30 minutes. I mean, exaggeration, but an hour. It's almost like if this book becomes a bestseller and yours becomes a almost seller, is that totally fair?
I don't know. Maybe I should have written it with AI. I don't know. That's a good question.
Why don't you take your award winning and flip it into AI and see if it doesn't?
there's good parts of AI too. I mean, AI is a
It is,
tremendous research
absolutely.
tool, and you
Oh,
know, but this is going to be an argument that's going to rage for a long
yes,
time,
it
and
is.
ultimately, no stopping it. I mean,
It is.
it's future. It is what it is.
Wow.
The
That's so.
One of the key people at Google was a futurist named Ray Kurzweil,
Uh-huh.
and he predicted and installed a lot of different things. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. And one of the things he's talking about, and I think I've heard Elon Musk talk about it as well, is the ability to implant a small computer in people's brains so that you can augment your thinking with
Yes.
computerized thinking.
Yes.
That could be the future too. And on the face of it, you can go, why do I want a computer in my brain? And then the other hand is, if that quadruples your intelligence, maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't know.
Oh, I don't, that's a mixed one right there. I mean,
I know it is.
oh, wow. Now that's a good one. Now you did a great example. Now, how would that really shape the society? That's what I want to know because we have all different kind of people. We have people with different things going on in different manners. So if you artificially put something in someone's brain and everybody's a genius, would that really benefit the world?
I don't know. It might. On the other hand,
Hmm.
um,
I don't know.
I
That's
well, I think if you look at history,
yeah,
the great advances in history were probably done by people who are pretty smart.
right.
I don't
Yeah.
think, so the question is there such a thing as too many people being too smart? I don't know.
Or too dumb. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you can go one way or the other. But no, that's a wow, this is like that would be like a topic for anybody in the AI department to go, that's a good thought. I'm pretty sure they thought of it. If they wouldn't be
Oh,
doing
yeah.
AI because they're smart. But I mean, hey, the future is shaping always, even without, the AI or things like that, it's still evolving. What we used to do back in my era or your era is it's mine is 40 times, has changed and since, my childhood. So it's always evolving, but I think like putting extra things into something to kind of offset it, I also have mixed feelings about that. I don't know.
Well, to me, the biggest concern I have is the retraining of people whose jobs will be lost to
Oh,
technology.
that's right.
Sort of like when computers came in,
Yeah,
typesetters at newspapers, that job disappeared almost overnight, and those people had to be retrained so that they could have other kinds of jobs. And that's what technology and robotics is doing these days and will continue to do. So, really, I think as a
yeah,
society, what we need to do is figure out how we keep people employed when
absolutely.
technology and robotics are taking over the jobs that they would have.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna piggyback off of this one. So as a nurse, now I believe in hands-on. I don't care what AI does. This is my belief because I've been in the field for over 30 years. So this is what I believe about it. There's some things that absolutely, you can actually have a robot do. But when it comes to physical, like human touch of the things that we have to encounter, no robot will ever take the place of a human. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And I'm
Well, I think
sticking
there
by
are
that
certain
one.
things,
Yeah.
there are certain things that
Yeah.
robotics not replace, but then there
No.
are many that
And it will, it's doing it now. There's robots in different hospitals, bringing in, here's your newspaper. I'm like, yeah, you can bring
yeah.
that newspaper, but just don't touch my client. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, but when it comes to physical, now that's where I'm going to have to say I don't agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that.
Well, we'll see what the future brings.
That's right. That's all we can do. But I want to absolutely, I do have another question before we do go. So
Sure.
what was the most important conversation with Kenny that you had about his memoir?
The most important. Rather
Or
than the rather than the most important, I would think it would be the most interesting. And that to me was his sense of humor. I, you
witty.
know, Right. I have, as I said, I've interacted with Kenny and spoken with
Yes.
him, but I never really, until I read his memoir and started talking to him more deeply, never understood how humorous he is, how much he values humor,
Yes.
and how important it is in his life. And that was unexpected.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? When people look at Kenny, they look at him like, oh, he's the legend, which he is, the legend that does the saxophone and, just, debonair. But the other side of him is, you're right, he is witty, he's humorous, he's funny. And a lot of people don't
He's
see
a
that.
nice guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
very
always
nice.
knew he was a nice human being. I
Yes,
got that from the very
yes.
first, but it was more the humor and the
Oh,
jokes and everything that
yeah. He's
I'm pleasantly surprised by that.
Really? Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm sure, just like reading his memoir, it was kind of like some of the points that he highlighted. It was like funny. I'm like, wow, that was funny. That was funny, because I think he in life, and not just him, but with anybody, you got to have something in order to, keep you motivated and going. Why not have the humor? You can't have everything so, every single day of your life. That'll drive you, to the next level. So, but
The
wow.
other thing that surprised me about Kenny was because everybody knows him as a smooth jazz
Yes.
artist, barber and
Smooth.
from what he's
Yes.
doing now and everything. And the fact that he started out with a funk R&B group, that I did not expect.
You didn't expect the funk. You was like, I thought you was smooth jazz. Funk? And he's proud of that. That funk. I mean, but
Yeah,
you know what else is surprising that sometimes I hear from other, just other people's feedback is that he the diversity that he brings to his shows. Not that it matters, don't get me, it's not like about a thing, but it's because of his humor, but also his personality and growing up in that diverse kind of culture. It's almost like if Kenny walked in anywhere, you'd be like, oh, he's ready to come play. It wouldn't be more like, who's that guy coming in here to play? I mean, his his persona, just who he is. It's like he can walk anywhere and they're not going to look at like, who's the guy with the curls?
absolutely.
Kenny is a person, he's a legend, and he's
Yep.
been a legend since, he started playing in the funk, starting off in the funk. And I think a lot of it is that respect from when he started in that level and still playing in that kind of diversity. I mean, people love him. Going to the shows, they love him. And he's no
Yep.
different. No, he's no different. He plays in front of whoever, whenever, and he's going to be the same person when he walks in and when he walks out. And that's what I love about him. He does not change for anybody, period.
I agree. And the fact that he has performed with rappers, with R&B
Yes,
acts,
yes,
classic, with jazz acts, with
yes,
the whole spectrum, it talks to his virtuosity and his, like you said, his openness for
yes.
the life experience, no matter what that is.
Right. Do you think that curved? I keep saying this is the last question, but do you think that curved with him starting in the funk? Do you think that curved like how society shaped around him? Not so much him shaping society, but do you think society shaped around here because he was so humorous and open?
I'm not sure I would think that society shaped around him for that. I
Yeah.
think he he had a somewhat unique talent on
Yes.
on the sax. He has an image that's
Yes.
different than most
Yes.
other performers and especially sax players. Um, he's a good-looking guy,
Yes, of
um,
course.
and and I- and he writes and performs really good material. So I just think that people liked the package. I don't know how else to put it. That if you take everything about
Yeah.
him, that's the package. And I think it appealed to people. And I'm not sure that any one thing
Led to the
formed the
other.
public opinion on that, but I
Yeah.
just think the whole package is.
Wow. But you know what? Looking at his history, not looking, but going like his history when he started, like the 17, and like you said, funk, you were very surprised. But going back to some of his past work, it was like it was something about him. It's just like he was self-made to be here. And this is what he was put
Yep,
on this earth to do. That's how I see him.
yep, I agree.
Amazing. He's just
Yep,
absolutely amazing.
yep.
And thank you for
Fabulous.
interviewing him. Thank you for being on my show. You are absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for everything that you do. I'll be hitting you up like, Rick, yeah, I wrote a book, but wow, you might tell me to throw it in the garbage. I don't know. But, it's just great to have connections, like you, not to abuse that, but, get feedback from, ideas and things like that of what you're comfortable with. But I definitely appreciate you. You are a one in a million.
Can I go hold up my book for a second?
You
Can I
can.
go hold up my book?
Yes,
I'll be right
yes.
back.
And while he's getting his book, for Kenny's book, it's Life in the Key of G. It's on Amazon and all over the place. So make sure you go out and get that read. It's amazing.
This one's mine, Pinion Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives. This is the first of the two that are out so far.
Wow. Now can I see the back cover of it? The back part of the back of it? I love
It's got
it.
endorsements by Shelley Shepard Gray, Rex Pickett, who wrote Sideways, Heather Graham, Nancy Picard, and um, others. I've been pleased that a lot of other authors have liked my books, so
Wow.
it's
Now,
cool.
do you have an ebook version or audible version of it?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's ebook, audiobook,
Okay.
print. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Both books. The second one, Murder in Haxford.
Oh, I saw that title and I was like, and I'm going to actually go back. I'm going to have to get those because I like mystery too. But that one, the murder, that one, I was like, now this one sounds very, very interesting. Also, I like that.
Well, it's the second book in the series, but they're
Yeah.
both
The
standalone, so you can
standalones.
read
Okay.
them without having read the other.
Okay.
But
Wow.
they both feature Scorpion and his
Yeah.
barbershop detective.
And by the way, audience, so Rick is the one that he just does it. I'm the plotter, but he's the like, hey, and that's a creative mind. That's a brilliant mind to be able to take something and put it down in writing and make something out of that. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I
Uh,
wish I could do that, but
I,
nah.
I'm fortunate that it happens to me, and I appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you so much for being on this show. And I would definitely get it edited and get the clip to you. And hopefully we can do another one down the road. You're amazing. I know there's a lot of other great stuff that you got out there that we didn't touch on, but for the audience that is viewing this, get out there, get on his social media, get his series, go on his sites, follow him because I'm definitely going to keep scrolling all of his things around on my social media. So Rick, if you see like, who is that doing that? It's going to be Katina, okay? I'm just giving you a
Thank
disclaimer
you.
right now. But thank you so
Right
much.
on.
And it's been an honor
You're
to have you on
welcome.
my show. I appreciate you. And I will get this over to you.
My pleasure to be on. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.